Well, former President Joe Biden is back in the news again and back in the public eye. Sort of. The former president has written, or wants us to believe he has written, a book. It's called Promise Me, America, which as a title makes about as much sense as the rest of his presidency. They've even released a video to promote it, and I tell you what, old Joe is looking and sounding as fit as ever.
I've written a book about my time as president. It's called Promise Me, America. It's coming out in November. It's about the challenges we faced as a nation, about the decisions I made, and why I made them. Leading the country through COVID, rebuilding our economy, and restoring our democracy after the attack on January 6th. Ending our nation's longest war in Afghanistan, strengthening NATO, and supporting Ukraine.
Yeah, look, don't believe those who say Joe Biden didn't have another great 4 years in him, I tell you what. Here to discuss this and more is White House reporter at the Washington Examiner, Naomi Lim. Naomi, thank you so much for joining me here. Are you looking forward to reading this book as much as I am? And do you figure that the auto pen got a real big workout in the ghostwriting stakes here?
Well, the first thought that jumped out to me when I watched that video was I hope that that binder is not full of classified information after all of the drama that surrounded the president's sort of management of classified documents. I mean, the Democrats are, not looking forward to this book. I think it will be interesting just for the point that he raised in that video that he wants to talk about, why he decided to run and then why he decided to pull out. I think that's going to be the biggest sort of news making that we get from this book. But to your point, I mean, Democrats, this comes after former First Lady Jill Biden released her book, where she sort of went on this press tour that, speculated whether she thought that the former president had a stroke during that debate that ended his political career. But I guess the lesson that the Bidens have learned in this case is that they're waiting till after the midterm elections so that Democrats do not have to relitigate the 4 years that Biden spent in office, as well as this decision of his to step aside and have former Vice President Kamala Harris take over the top of the country.
Well, that's an interesting point, Naomi. The fact that they're waiting until after the midterms, is that a bit of a tell? Because, obviously, we all know that Joe Biden wasn't, sitting away at his home office as laptop tapping away for the last, 9 months punching this thing out. The Biden camp will have had a lot of hands in developing this manuscript. Do you think that this is really going to be used to settle scores against those in the Democrat establishment who Biden and his people, his team, feel unfairly forced him out? Is there a civil war coming, I guess, in the Democrats over this?
I mean, we saw glimpses of that with the former First Lady's book. I mean, she had a go at one of her top, aides that was so public in his defense of Biden. That man was Andrew Bates, and then she had to roll it back. I think the thing that I'll be interested to read is, this relationship with the former president and the former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, because that took such a dive during this whole debacle because he saw the former speaker as the person that sort of really pushed him out. And so, this could be something that happens. I think, though, at the same time, because Democrats are looking toward, not only 2026, but also 2028, I think we're going to have a couple of people that maybe say they don't read it, and maybe that won't help the Biden's book sales as he tries to raise money for his presidential library and his future going forward.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting question, too, about the book sales, because, 81 million Americans voted for Joe Biden. They say the most who ever voted in any presidential election. I mean, does this suggest that there's a huge market for this, or am I going to be cynical and think that maybe really we're going to see this mostly bought in bulk by, NGOs and other sorts of groups that oftentimes with these sort of books do mass orders to repay favors and that sort of thing and kind of help him raise money for things like, as you say, the presidential library?
I mean, I guess time will tell, and maybe it's coming out in time for Christmas. So if people are looking for a last minute Christmas gift, maybe this is something that will pop up. I mean, I just don't know if this demand. I think there's this sense not only within the Democratic Party but also the American public that it's the Biden's chapter is closed, and while there is interest, I guess, in just seeing his thought process during that, I just don't know how much new information will arise from it, and so. My prediction that, it might be on the bestsellers list because of things that you mentioned, but I don't know how high up it will be there in terms of the popular demand.
Yeah. No, look, I'll be honest with you, Naomi. I think that, we've only got time to read a limited number of books in our life, and I don't think I'm going to waste one on this one here. But, hey, I want to talk also here about what else is going on here with the midterms here. Your newspaper is reporting a new forecast from Decision Desk HQ that says Democrats are in a position to win. The Hill newspaper is in a position, reporting that the Democrats are in a position to win the House this fall, while the Senate is on track to hold a 50-50 partisan split. Naomi, how do you rate this projection? Is this right? And if it comes to pass, though, Trump's got a big problem because that's 2 years of absolute gridlock and, potential attempts at impeachment and things like this. It doesn't sound great for America if it winds up split like this.
Well, what I kind of took from that poll is, the majority in the House is so narrow that it won't take a wave for Democrats to win. This analysis is obviously showing more of a wave election. So I think that the Republicans should be more concerned going into the midterm elections and really honing into this affordability message that, we really haven't seen them do it so far. I mean, the Senate side is also interesting. There was this projection that it would be sort of 50-50 split with the vice president having to cast, the tie-breaking vote. And the first thought that came to my mind was, what, impact this could have on a potential presidential campaign for Vice President J.D. Vance, because he's going to be stuck in D.C. so often trying to cast votes. And so I just think that there's a lot more implications, that we'll see. But I think it is telling. I mean, there's this conventional wisdom going into the November's elections that the House will flip. But at the same time, I'm not quite sure that Trump is that concerned about these congressional investigations, only because, we were talking about Joe Biden earlier. I mean, he set this precedent now of these very wide sweeping pardons. So it might be annoying for Trump in the meantime, but I think he's less concerned about those long-term ramifications just because of the precedent that Biden set.
Yeah, hey, also just want to talk about Zohran Mamdani, who's trashing New York just up the road from you here. I wanted to get your reaction to a couple of things here. Number one, he gave a fairly, I'll call it unconvincing, some would say offensive answer to why sexual assault statistics are up in New York. Have a look at this.
And what I think is important to know is a lot of the increase in rape also comes from an expanded definition of what counts as rape, as well as survivors coming forward for acts that took place years prior.
That seems like an odd thing to say there, but meanwhile, there's a new analysis also showing that New York's share of millionaires has dramatically declined, causing a nearly $11 billion loss in much-needed tax revenue in just 1 year. Kind of feels like everything we thought was going to happen under Mamdani is happening, from explaining away crime to the tax base saying, yeah, we're done. Who knew?
Well, it's been interesting to watch this Mamdani sort of honeymoon play out. He's only been in office for 6-ish months, but we sort of saw his political, credibility, capital really sort of rise in the past couple of weeks just because of the prominence of the Democratic Socialist candidates that he, not only that he endorsed in New York City, but we've seen their success around the country. So there's this idea that he's doing really well politically, but I guess when you come down to different things, I mean, obviously he's been successful in securing a rent freeze, at least for like the next, I think it's the next year, as well as, expanding childcare in the state. But I mean, if he's losing this tax base, I don't know how long those programs can stay in place. And I think that's when you'll see maybe criticism of not only his leadership, but potentially his ideology as well.